Good evening. Welcome to the West Ham Voice on a Thursday night. Well, I thought I'd do this show because I've not been well the last few days, so I really couldn't sort of get myself up to putting a show on. I should have done the West Ham Weekly on Tuesday, but I was just a little bit too much under the weather. So I thought I'd make it up to you. I don't know. I only decided to do it about an hour or so ago, so I don't know how many people are going to end up watching, but welcome. Welcome to the West Ham Voice on a Thursday night. Thursday nights won't happen that often, so this is going to be quite a unique experience, and even more unique because I'm just going to do a Q&A. I've got nothing set up, no pre-proposed plans of what I'm going to talk about, so it's going to be based purely on your questions. So I might as well get down and say good evening to you all. I think there are one or two things that have come up over the last day or so. I think people are losing their heads over the 800 odd missing cup tickets at Villa. Apparently we were given 6,500, and the club are saying, Villa are saying we were going to given 6,500, and others, and we're saying 5,800. Let's sell the 5,800 on a Friday night first, and then we can moan about the other 800 that are missing, shall we? What else? I don't know what else. I'll have a look at the headlines once I go through your questions. So if you want to ask me a question tonight, well, if you want to get involved, ask me a question tonight, and I'll do my best to either answer it directly or sugarcoat it in some way. So who do we have? Good evening to you, Matt. I hope you're well. Win our next two matches. Well, let's dive straight in there, shall we? Win our next two matches. By the way, if you're just passing West Ham Boys and it's the first time, you know what to do. Well, you don't know what to do because it'll be your first time. Do consider becoming a subscriber of the channel. And whether you become a subscriber or not, if you're an existing subscriber, hit that like button, please. Right, Matt. Win our next two matches. Does J-Lo deserve to stay until the end of the season? It's a tough one because I was pretty much convinced after the results and the performances that we put in over the last few games, including Wolves, that I thought that possibly Lopetegui would be gone anyway. And I think it's gone rather quiet. It's been quite a pretty quiet week since we won on Wednesday night. It wasn't a pretty win. We edged it. I mean, I know there were certain decisions that apparently went against it. Well, apparently I was there. You know, they had a couple of penalty shouts, but we had two disallowed goals. But overall, when I looked at the game, the highlights, we actually had a better first half than I thought. If anyone watched the really quick review I did straight after the game, I suggested the first half was really boring. Well, it's great highlights because the highlights make it look really fantastic. And we actually had about three chances. I think we had the one that Somerville lobbed over their defence and put Soler in was a fantastic attempt. And I think Kudus had a go. Bowen had a go as well. So the answer to your questions, does he deserve to stay until the end of the season? I think what we think is quite different to what the board will think. If he wins his next two games against two very informed teams, then I dare say he will continue. I guess what's going to happen is, Matt, is the minute we lose a game, whether it be the next one, the one after that, the one after that one, whichever one, the outcry of Lopetegui out will start again. And I know we don't like this whole thing about, 1 minute, we hear he's being given one game, then 5 games, then only a couple of games and whatever. I think the results themselves are going to be the important factor. So win the next 2 games. Does he deserve to the end of the season? Well, that depends on whether we go on a big losing streak again. And then maybe the board will have to reconsider. So he will have a stay of execution is what I say. If he wins his next 2 games, I think we'll see him in charge for the next month or so, and then see what happens thereafter. I'm not sure I've answered you. I've given you about 2 or 3 different answers. Matt, again, why does J-Lo keep fighting and arguing with the players? Sounds pathetic. This is a strange one because if you look back on the review I did of Lopetegui when he was announced, he bigged up how it was really important to have a unified squad. You know, it wasn't a game about just the first 11 players. It was the whole squad, but then the whole club had to, move together, all think as one, from technical director to coaches to the squad to the board, etc. And he's got a website, Hulan Lopetegui, and he talks about team spirit and stuff like that, the importance of the team. So it's a real surprise that he seems to have fallen out with quite a number of players. And I think I read today, apparently there were still 3 players that really want him gone: Todibo, Kudus, and Fulkrug. I think you can add to that perhaps Areola, Paquetá, probably in that mix as well. Look, we don't know what's happened, but we know something's happened. It's evident. It's evident that he had a fallout with Kudus in the game at Brentford earlier this season. It's pretty well documented that he had a fallout with Todibo in a couple of weeks ago. I think after the Arsenal, during the Arsenal game. Now we think that he's had a fallout with Areola, with Fulkrug, and with Paquetá. We don't know, but we're speculating. And because we know he's had a fallout with Kudus and with Todibo, we're just immediately assuming that he's had a fallout with other players as well. I don't know. But it is rather, well, if it's true, it is pathetic. I totally agree with you. Good evening to you as well, by the way. I didn't say good evening to everyone. Good evening to you all. Any news on Antonio? Well, as I said, I think I did a show the other day on the day that, or the day that Antonio had the accident, or the day after. Basically, Antonio, as I described, he's had an operation. He had a compound fracture, or two fractures. He was quite dazed. I'm sure you've all read this already. He was quite dazed. He didn't know where he was. It took about 40 odd minutes for the ambulance to arrive. He had to be helicoptered to helicopter ambulance, etc. He's had an operation. He had the operation, I think, on Sunday. And that the operation on a fracture, on a compound fracture, means that you're going to have a whole load of pins, whole load of wires, everything in there, to put the bones back to where they should be. He could be out for at least a year. There's talk about, I even mentioned, I suggested that maybe West Ham might do what they did with Angelo Ogbonna, where when Angelo Ogbonna sustained his cruciate ligament injury, the club honoured they were considering a 1-year extension. It was in his contract, and they honoured that. And Antonio's got the same thing with his contract, and there's talk about the possibility of doing that with Antonio as well. We don't know. It does mean if he's given the 1-year extension, that's $100,000 a week that's going to a player that isn't going to play and probably won't play anymore. But if you look at what the club are, if the club do that, then they're doing right by Antonio. To be honest with you, my gut feeling is if he does recover from this in terms of being able to play again, whether he'll be able to play at the highest level again is highly unlikely. But we don't know. The modern day technology of how you sort of overcome injuries, etc. Who knows? But that's the latest news that I'm aware of. Good evening, Hamret. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Anthony. I hope you're well. Let's have another look. Daniela, good evening. Matt, did you see the podcast? Antonio player argue with the managers all the time. There you go. And that is a good point. If you have players falling, players should have a right to say what they think, but at the same time, players should know who's in charge. That's going to cause friction, isn't it? Good evening to you, Epic. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Gatesy. How are you? Lopetegui hopefully soon gone, and no Moyes coming back. Definitely no Moyes coming back. Don't know whether Lopetegui will go. I think, like the question was asked earlier, if he wins another game, he'll have a stay of execution. If he beats both, I mean, you know what could happen. And I kind of alluded to it before we played Arsenal and Newcastle. I said it'd be our luck where we'll go and beat Newcastle and Arsenal and lose to Leicester. All right, we didn't win against Arsenal, but we lost to Leicester. What could happen now? We could beat Bournemouth, we can beat Brighton, and then we'll go and lose to Southampton on Boxing Day because it's West Ham. Anthony, there's going to be a shock for Hammers fans. Moyes coming back for a third time. He absolutely isn't. I've been told quite categorically that he is not coming back. Toha, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Daniela, I don't think Monday was as bad as a lot of you YouTubers are claiming. You still have a lot of room for improvement. Must do that, but it's not crap like one YouTuber. No, look, I've got to be honest. The first half was boring. The first half was pretty turgid. It was pretty boring, and people kind of like there was no atmosphere in the stadium because of it. The second half picked up without a shadow of a doubt. And I looked at the stats earlier today, and I didn't realize the stats were fairly even. We had more possession, but shots and on target. Ironically, we had the same number of shots as Wolves, but they actually had more on target. It had that hint, didn't it? Because of the atmosphere, because of what was apparently classed as the next El Sakiko. It could be one or both of those managers gone. They're both still there. I don't think Wolves have sacked O'Neill, and we certainly haven't sacked Lopetegui. So the atmosphere was pretty sort of weird to start off with. The second half was better, but it still wasn't great. Anthony, Lopetegui will be sacked after the Liverpool game. It's going to be bad for us, Lambs, to the slaughter. Well, this is the beauty of football. You don't know what's going to come. You don't know. I mean, Liverpool, they could come to us. They could be cocky and we might get a result out of them. Do you know? Look at Man City at this moment in time. Was it 1 in 10 that they've won in the last 1 in 10 games they've won? Who would have thought that, under, Guardiola, that a team like Man City, this is the beauty of football. You really don't know what's going to happen. The teams, we went away to Newcastle on a cold Monday night, asking ourselves, why on earth did we travel all the way up there, only to find ourselves beating them 2-0? That's how football works in a way. It's got its own sort of drama, isn't it? The famous, not journalist, but commentator once said during a game, it's drama unfolding in front of you. And that's what football is all about, isn't it? Hammer Lopetegui will end up staying, I think, till the summer. If we ain't going down, then I don't see the board sacking him. The prospect of Moyes coming back is horrifying. Prospect of Moyes coming back ain't happening. And I can see the possibility the board may turn around and go, you know what? Better the devil, we will look for the right manager. If Lopetegui can get us limping over the line and not getting relegated, and I don't think we'll get in a relegation battle. I don't mean that in a cocky way, but you look, we're 9 points now away from the drop zone, 7 points off the European places, or maybe 9 as well. I don't know, but we're right in the middle, aren't we? And you don't know how things will turn out. It could prove to be better. There you go, you're wrong, and there you go, you're wrong too. Mark, good evening. Question: when Moyes was under pressure from the board, was it all about him getting a result and not the performance? Do you think Lopetegui will need the performances too? Yes, I do, and I think it was that's what was the downfall of David Moyes. If you think about it, yeah, all right. Second half of last season under Moyes was pretty turgid, excuse me, the number of defeats that we suffered, but the performances were awful as well, weren't they? Fans were screaming out, we want to be entertained, don't we? Ironically, we were entertained in the first half of last season, believe it or not, even though we had 30% possession, but we were scoring goals for fun. And then it just went, what happened at the end of last season under Moyes was, as I said in a couple of shows ago, I think he knew round about the time, if you remember the whole story a few weeks back, that Moyes said in that podcast that he was offered a new contract after the Arsenal game when we beat them away. And then apparently it was taken away from him. Well, the truth of the matter is, like I said in that show, was that Moyes was offered that contract in December this time last year. And because he procrastinated for so long, and because he wasn't happy with the terms of the contract, he wanted to prove West Ham wrong. So he went out thinking, I'll show you, I'll do even better this season. And then you got no choice but to offer me a contract under my terms. And it all went tits up, didn't it? And it went until something like February before the board took that contract away. And then I think, the football by then had gotten even worse and worse. Moyes knew that he was going. And that's why the results were as bad as the performances. So he was under pressure to perform as well as bring results. And I think it's no different for Lopetegui. I actually said I convinced myself on Monday night, despite the results, I thought Lopetegui would be gone because the performances haven't been great. Long answer to a short question. Sorry, Anthony. Stel, would you agree that Somerville should be starting every game and staying on for the whole 90 minutes? Yes, I do. I think Somerville is a ray of light. And I think you give him a good run of games, I think he'll just get better and better. That through ball to Soler that I mentioned earlier was superb. And the goal that was disallowed, was it against Arsenal when he got the goal that he was offside, but he lobbed over the keeper as well? The man he needs game time. He needs regular game time. And actually, I was really, really pleased on Monday that the lineup that I wanted up front actually happened. You had Somerville, Bowen, and Kudus. I couldn't believe it. I was really, really surprised. Now, many would argue maybe that had Antonio not been in that car crash, etc., maybe he would have started in that game, possibly at the expense of Somerville. But given that we had Fulkrug on the bench, that's a strange one. He scored in the game before, Leicester game, and then didn't get any game time against Wolves. Why? I don't know. I don't know what went on there. But I actually thought, well, given that Antonio was now out of the equation, that Fulkrug would start. So kind of pleased me in a way that we had the lineup of Somerville, Bowen, and Kudus. But yeah, as usual, either Somerville doesn't start or he doesn't finish the whole game. Let's scroll down. Let's see some more questions. If you want to ask me a question, got to put a cue so I know that's what you're asking. Yuha, good evening to you. I don't know what the rest of you do every year. I just count points until we hit 40. It will just make you sad and disappointed if you count how many points to last Europe spot. That's a good way of looking at it, mate. Good evening to you, Jason. How are you? Bang on time. Of course I was. I always am. I always tell you, you lot are always early. I'm never late. Never late. Toha. Fat Freddy's cat. I love that. Who knows? Fat Freddy's cat. Toha, mate, you're going back in time. If none of you are aware of what I'm talking about and what Toha has put on his thing there, go up and look up Fat Freddy's cat, the best cat in the whole wide world. Am I right, Toha, or am I right? Stel, will you please help Loppy out with his pronunciation? You know how good you are. Basic, good evening to you. Good evening to you, Charles. I hope you're well. I slapped myself on the back for the timing. Good evening, Yuha. I hope you're well. Good evening, Chris. How are you, mate? Bridlington calling. Welcome, mate. I hope you're well. Kimbo, how are you, mate? Thank you for joining as well. Hands up who have deserted early doors usual. What, me or Monday's game? One or two people left early. They missed all the fun, didn't they? Darren, how are you, mate? I hope you're well. Wonder who our new striker will be. Will we have to get one in January? Well, we do. I don't disagree with you. But people are talking about bringing all these players on loan. And it's another thing that I talked about a few weeks ago. We've already now, let's get this right. Because I did check it and double check it and triple check it. And I was even told, no, you're wrong. And I'm not wrong. So I'll repeat myself again. We are allowed, or everyone, not just we, every club is allowed 4 players on loan in one season. You can only have 2 starting or in the squad at any one time. So you're allowed up to 4, but you can only have 2 in the squad. So we've currently got 2 in the squad, Todibo and Soler. We'll have to make one of them permanent in order to get a loan player in. Does that answer your question? Because a lot of people are talking about we're going to get a striker in on loan. Only if we either we get rid of one of our loan players or we make them into permanents. Good evening, Steve. I hope you're well. Question, Yuha. Can you show us a cat, please? They're all asleep. They're all out. I can't, unfortunately. I can show you the photos, but I can't show you the actual cats themselves. If they come through, I'll pick them up and I'll bring them. I'll show them to you. Paul, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Toha, good evening. I've already said good evening. Do you really think he will be let go, Stel? Really? No, like I've mentioned already. If he continues to win games, he would be allowed to carry on. And that's what we want, isn't it? We want not only wins, but we want convincing wins. We want really good performances. Of course we do. But at this moment in time, I think the board have realized, look, let's get this right. They have gone out looking for alternatives. That's not made up. That's not speculation. We know that they have. We know that they've spoken to a number of intermediaries. I've actually recorded a show that will go out tomorrow morning at 8:30, talking about the two top names at this moment in time, Allegri and Potter, and the speculation surrounding them. So do look out for that show in the morning. But there's no doubt they've gone out and they've spoken to intermediaries, agents about the prospect of bringing an alternative in. Do I think they will get an alternative? Yes. If we go for on a spell of a long streak of losing games, and a long streak could be 2 or 3. At this moment in time, it could be 3, and then they might go, okay, enough's enough, and off he goes. So it really is down to results. I'd like to think it's down to results and performances, but maybe West Ham might consolidate and go, you know what? We know we've made a mistake. We'll wait until the end of the season. He's only on a 2-year contract. We'll pay him off the 1 year he's got left, and we'll go and look for a new head coach then. Because I think the head coaches that West Ham United really want are not available at this moment in time. And I think what West Ham are thinking is, why go out and just get another sticky plaster when if Lopetegui can get us through the season? It won't be great. It won't be pretty. But that's probably what they're thinking. John, good evening. I don't think we are, to be really, really honest with you. And this is not me sugarcoating, but I don't think we're in deep poo at this moment in time. If we lose 2 or 3 games in a row and it drags us down to, nearer the relegation zone, different matter altogether. But like I've just said, I think if that happens, he'll be gone. Good evening, Lee. I hope you're well. Graham, will Man City stay up? I hope you're well, Graham. I hope all is well with you. How cold is it in Canada at the moment, mate? Will they stay up? One never knows. I think we should do a swap deal. I think we should swap Lopetegui for Guardiola. I know Guardiola's record in the past 10 games has been worse, but hey, we'll give him a chance, won't we? We're always the last chance saloon. Hammerette, we must definitely be looking at a striker in January. I honestly see us getting another winger from somewhere and shoehorning them in. I don't think we will get another winger, to be quite honest with you. We haven't had wingers linked to us for quite some time, but certainly a striker, I think we will be looking. Like I said, if we're looking for a loan deal, then one of our loan deals is either got to be made permanent or it's got to be let go of. Steve, good evening, mates. Any news regarding a left back from the under-21s who could make the first team? Well, I would have said Ollie Scarles, but Ollie Scarles for most of this season has been playing in midfield rather than the left side. And Scarles did make the bench week before last, I think, when we were a little bit depleted with players. And I would imagine, I think Creswell, I think he's had a virus or has a virus. And with Creswell out, Scarles did make the bench, but he didn't actually make the team, as we know. Scarles would be the closest one, but ironically, Scarles has not been playing left back much this season for the under-21s. Charles, do you think there's any truth that Potter will be in charge on a short-term deal if Loppy gets the sack? I think there's an element of truth in it, but my understanding is that no offer has been made, so therefore no offer can be turned down. That's as far as it goes at this moment in time. Would Potter take it? Quite possibly. Because as much as I've said before that David Sullivan doesn't really fancy Graham Potter, he will be the nearest thing to what David Sullivan would want in a manager, in a head coach, i.e. Premier League experience. Joan, good evening to you. I hope you're well. What are we going to do about our striker or lack of a striker situation? We do what we did without strikers last season and the season before that and the season before that. We adapt. We've got players that can play that role. And I know not a lot of people like Jared Bowen being in that role, but he can operate in it. So can Kudus. We can play a false number 9. And I know a lot of people like that, because we're kind of acclimatized to having a pivot up at the front there. But we will manage. I think we are looking at strikers in the January window, but it's going to be very interesting to see exactly what happens. Now, if the whole rumours of Fulkrug being unhappy is going to go, apparently he was linked to Juventus, and no sooner was he linked to Juventus the other day that Juventus have turned around and gone, no thanks. I think it will be a matter of, we have got spaces in the squad. I think we've only got 22 or 23 senior players, so we do have a couple of places available in the squad. but it'd be interesting to see it. We basically, the hardest time to get a player, certainly a striker, is in January. And basically, if we do go out and get a striker, it's going to be someone that can hit the ground running. There's no point in going out and getting a striker that is going to be maybe part of the squad. That's not what we need. We need a striker that's going to be literally walking. Mind you, Antonio now, he'll be taken out of the equation, but Antonio is part of the homegrown. Let's not forget. So maybe if we get a striker, it might have to be a homegrown striker, because we're going to need to. I didn't think of that before. We're going to need to keep our homegrown quota up to date. I haven't checked on how many we've got homegrown. I could sit here and count them at the moment, but I don't want to waste my time and your time. But with Antonio out of the squad, we might need another homegrown player, maybe a homegrown striker. Howard, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Good evening to you, Sharky. How are you, mate? Wolves were unfortunate not to get a penalty. Yeah, they kind of were. But hey, how many penalties have we had go against us when they shouldn't have been given? Toha, Stel, do you prefer coffee or tea, salt and vinegar, or cheese and onion, apples or pears? I prefer coffee. A nice shot, double shot in the morning with cream, because I'm not drinking milk anymore. Tea, green tea. Salt and vinegar or cheese and onion? It's got to be cheese and onion. Salt and vinegar make me feel sick. Apples or pears? It's apples, mate. There you go. Good evening, Alien. How are you, mate? I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Adam. How are you, mate? Kimbo, I think our owners will settle for dull football and avoid relegation until next season. I hope I'm wrong, but don't trust the troll. I think you're actually right, to be honest with you. I think that is exactly what will happen. If they see Lopetegui get us through the end of this season, they'll go, all right, job done. Thank you, but no thank you. We're going to move on. I think West Ham United, look, my gut now tells me that when West Ham go for a new head coach, the new head coach is going to have to hit quite a number of criteria. We already know Sullivan's criteria. He needs Premier League experience and all that palaver. But I also think that there's the story that came out a few weeks back that Mark Noble is beginning to be a bigger influence on the senior team, etc. The way he's trying to sort of link up the under 21s, that the academy with the senior squad, etc. I think Mark Noble is going to have a big say, probably a big say, on who the new head coach will be after Lopetegui. And I think one of the criteria is going to be, we need someone that is going to bring through the youth, that deserve being brought through. Because I know what we're all like. My God, they're great. All these players, we're losing all these players. Look how over the last few years, we keep moaning about all these players that we lose in the academy. Lace Swans, Mubama. He went to Man City. I said he won't get a look in Man City. Man City are having a torrid time. Mubama's nowhere near. Now, I'll be very surprised if Mubama does get game time. I don't think he will. And just like all the other under 21s that we've had at West Ham, who we thought were great, but have turned out not to be as great as we would like to think. But moving forward, I think the next head coach is going to be someone who is going to not only bring us better football, but also someone that can has got Premier League experience and can maybe incorporate some of the youth as well. So I think they will settle, going back to your question, I think they will settle for dull football to avoid relegation until next season, and then go out and look for a head coach that's going to tick an awful lot more boxes than we were expecting to see before. I am speaking in riddles because I'm making it up, so I'm going along. Usual. Stel is watching West Ham like making love to a beautiful woman. I told you you're all. I've told you you're a little bit. You might want to go and see a therapist. Usual. John, come on, Stel. We were playing Wolves. They are shit. They made us look good. I'm not suggesting any other. I'm not suggesting otherwise. The first half was awful. The second half was better, but it wasn't great. Good evening, Bone Lounge. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, James. How are you, mate? I hope you're well. Mr. Burden, how are you? You sneaked this show in for tonight. I was hoping you were working. And look, you're not. I mean, it's typical, isn't it? My guest, Loppy, will be gone by January. Might be. See you Monday and get the rums in. Monday, don't tell me you're going to... Yeah, you are going to Bournemouth, aren't you? Do you not sleep? No, never. I've been ill. That Mister. If people will know who this is. This is the famous Le Shirt Wiggy, the man who wears the worst shirts life could ever bring you. I hope you're well, Wiggy. I do not sleep. It's far too early. It's only 11:15 now. I hope you're well. Hammer it. If Floppy stays the entire season, then the board has no belief we will turn this around. Nor we will go down a mediocre season with nothing much to play for, mid-table finish. But let's be really honest here, Hammerets. After Moyes was gone, let's be really, really honest. Let's not forget what everybody was saying, what almost everybody was saying. I'll take a hit next season so long as Moyes is gone so we can rebuild again. I'll take a hit. I don't mind if we finish mid-table. I know we probably won't be aiming for Europe because it's going to be a transition period. Well, guess what? This is a transition season. Now, whether we like Lopetegui in or not is another matter, and whether we wanted Lopetegui in or not is another matter. But this is a transition season. He's in the first season. Sometimes I kind of get why the board are not letting him go because they're going, hang on a minute. You lot wanted Moyes gone. We've gone and got you another manager. All right. It's not up to you who gets the manager or the head coach. It's up to us. We own the club. We pay the wages. We own it. It's up to us who we think is right to run this club, run the team. All right. We may not agree to it. And so far, what we've been seeing on the pitch is really not much better than what it was under Moyes. But it's another reason why they probably don't want to let him go, because they probably do want to see how the season's going to pan out. And yes, it's a transition season. We all said it. Finish mid-table, don't care, so long as we build and we get stronger and better. Who knows? Who knows what this season at the end might look like compared to what it looks like now? Now, that's not for me advocating that we should keep Lopetegui, because even I've said the football's turgid, the football's awful, we're not winning games, we're winning games unconvincingly. So don't get me wrong, this isn't a Lopetegui in message, but I can see why the board might go, do you know what? Let's just hang on and see what happens. Paul, why did he play Ings and not Fulkrug last Monday? Absolutely no idea, is the honest truth. Fulkrug has proved that he could, unless he picked up a niggle that we've not been told about, which means he was out for the game against Wolves. I do not know why Ings came on instead. Toho, this falling out with players is just the Basque way of showing some love, allegedly. There you go. It's the Basque way of doing things. Let's see. Who else have we got here? Andrew. Excuse me. 6 months ago, wasn't everyone saying mid-table? There you go. Mid-table acceptable if we stop being low block. Now we have stopped being low block. Well, mind you, we've gone the other way. We've gone completely the reverse, where we've gone such a high line, we keep getting caught out. Goodness me. There is a balance. Nottingham Forest have proved that there's a balance, and most other teams have proved that there's a balance, and that is the mid-block. We don't have to play the low block like Moyes did, and we certainly don't have to play the high line. But Lopetegui has come in with a vision. This is how he plays his football. He plays the high line, possession-based football. The irony is there was many of you will know The Athletic, which is a website, social media column, etc. Now, I didn't know that they did videos, but they did a video recently of the Premier League. And The Athletic talked about how most clubs in the Premier League are now adopting the quick play. They're almost avoiding the midfield. Now, the irony is this is what David Moyes did when he came back for the second time at West Ham during lockdown, where we were playing when we had Lingard in the team. We were getting the ball from the back, lobbing it over diagonally. Lingard or whoever was out wide will be taking it and scoring goals. Liverpool are doing it, and other teams are doing it. And ironically, we've seemed to have gone the other way. All of a sudden, we feel like we need to have possession of the ball. How many times have I said that possession of the ball is irrelevant if you don't do the right thing with it? We've had more possession of the ball every game this season, but the results have not been the same. So going back to Andrew's point, not everyone was saying I'll accept mid-table if it stops the low block. We're mid-table and we stopped the low block. Who else we got? Sharky. We should just be thankful that Antonio's absolutely, absolutely. Nikos Galimera, mate. Oh, Galispera, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Kimbo. Hope Mikhail Heals well, but can't see him coming back from this. Just hope he has a fantastic retirement. I totally agree. Andrew, is it really that crap? I've watched us for over 50 years. I've seen a lot worse. So have I, mates. You know, with the greatest of respect, we all have. Even you, Wiggy, even you've seen much worse. He moans. Oh, he moans. My God, me and Paul have to listen to his moaning at each game. You know, and the only reason why he gets away with it is because people recognize his shirt. We were in the pub the other day before the Wolves game, and I can't remember, Nick, I think it was Nick Mason, came up and said, "Oh, Stel, hi, you know, I watch your show, etc., etc." I was really grateful. He saw Wiggy, completely forgot about me. He went, "Oh, Wiggy." I thought, hang on a minute, whose channel is this? Anyway, let's carry on. Charles, the only stat that matters is the final score. Very true. The bowling. We've played okay against poor sides, lost and limped over the line. That's what's worrying me. Absolutely agree. You know, because they've not been convincing wins. Absolutely agree. Howard, the Arse won the league shithousing 1-0 wins with pretty wank football. It's a long time ago, though. They did indeed 1-0 to the Arsenal is what they used to sing. Kimbo. Andrew Jordan, been watching for about the same time, been worse, but always tried, not entertaining anymore. It certainly isn't. Any update on the concessions? Well, the battle still goes on, Sharky. I did get asked, you know, my fault. I apologise to Hammers United and Save Our Concessions. I was asked, why don't you come and join us on the, I was going to call it the picket line, but why don't you come and join us, you know, before the game by the aquarium, not the aquarium, the swimming pool. And I went, yeah, I will. And I didn't go, and I apologise. But yeah, the concession thing is still going on. Apparently, it's beginning to take effect, but I don't know the full. I'm not up to date with the full details, but maybe, just maybe, especially what's happened lately. Now we've got the you know, the big boys with us because Man United announced that they were withdrawing concessions. That's made all the Man United fans go mad. Now I know we shouldn't have to rely on the bigger teams like the Man Uniteds and the Liverpools, but those teams getting involved means that there's more clout for the saving of concessions. Hamret, of our wins and draws, how many have been convincing? Not many. Ipswich probably is the only one that you could argue. Well, no, I take that back. Ipswich and Newcastle. Newcastle, we 100%, deserve that win. And I know people are going, oh, well, if only they took their chances. I don't give a shit about other teams not taking their chances. If only we took our chances in certain games. If only we took our chances against Leicester, we would have beaten them quite convincingly. You can't say if only they took their chances, the result would have been different. You know, if my nan had balls, she'd be my uncle and or whatever they call it. You know, it doesn't matter. Other teams not taking their chances. That's their problem. You know, and people were going on about the Newcastle game and reflecting and trying to look for something that was going to, you know, put a downer on it. And then it was like, yeah, if only they took their chances. Ironically, we had more chances than they did on targets. You know, so if we took our chances, we might have beaten them 4 or 5-0. Good evening to you, Claudius. How are you? I hope you're well. Delton, Kilman has been poor and shows no sign of previous leadership skills. He looks negative at the back. I think he's had a couple of poor games. I don't think he's looked poor overall. I think he started off really strongly. He's had a couple of poor games. He keeps switching. They keep switching partners. 1 minute it's Todibo, next minute it's Mavropanos, then back to Todibo and Mavropanos. Can't be easy for Kilman. Let's think about that. You know, but he's had... The Arsenal game was really, he was poor in that game. And I think the game after the Leicester game, he wasn't that great either. Clive, Green Street, Greg, sorry, I thought it was Clive. Greg, good evening, mate. Season could go either way, definitely not going anywhere if not behind the team and the players don't believe. Got to be behind it. What you going to do to support another team? What you're going to do, support another team? Good. I was a bit disappointed on Monday. I've got to be honest. I think the atmosphere was pretty poor. And given how important the game was, look, I know, and I've always said it, that you've got to see something on the pitch in order to get you going. And we didn't in the first half. But the atmosphere was generally quite poor. Even when we went, you know, when we scored, the atmosphere was still a little bit, you know, sort of, it wasn't great. Bolin, Ipswich, Newcastle, decent. Second half against Palace, yeah. On the plus side, we are in a minority to take points off Brentford. Yeah, there you go. There's a plus. We took points off Brentford. Not many have. Let's scroll down. Who else do we have? Delton. Why was Todibo dropped instead of Kilman? because I think he wants to keep a balance. He wants to keep a left-footed centre back in and alongside a right-footed. And at the moment, we've only got one left-footed centre back in. Todibo and Mavropanos are both right-footed. Malk, good evening to you. Apparently, they operate on Mikel. So, do you think there's any chance he comes back? Love Antonio. Wish him the speediest of recovery. I don't know how the operation went, but like I said earlier in the show, you know, in this day and age, with all the technology that they have, etc., you can recover from these things a lot better than you may have done 5, 10, 15 years ago. Do I think he'll come back from that? Not really. I think I'd be very surprised if he comes back from that injury and plays high-level football. I think maybe what might happen with Antonio, there was always a thinking that he might finish his career in maybe, the Saudi League or something like that, or maybe even in America. I think possibly that's where he might, once he's back after about a year or so, that's probably where he'll end up, maybe finishing his football there. Hammer it to Greg. I go to every match, sing my lungs out. Players need to inspire the fans to get behind them too. Coach needs to look like he's at least knows what he's doing. Hammerette, why wasn't Fulkrug given a few minutes? Really don't know. Really, it is weird. Lots of negative talk. Well, we're trying to be I'm always half glass full, and I will challenge negativity if I think it's negativity for the sake of it. Paul, the team selection and substitutions have been baffling. Needs to pick the best team, falling out or not. I think I liked what he picked on Monday night. Like I said, I've wanted to see Somerville, Bowen, and Kudus up front, and he gave us that. At the midfield, I'm not surprised that he dropped Paqueta and kept Soler, Alvarez, and Souček in the middle, because Paqueta has not been delivering. And then at the back, people thinking, and even I thought, that Todibo had been dropped because of the argument that they had. But my understanding is Todibo keeps having these niggly little injuries that take a little bit time to recover. He's had them all season. And I think perhaps against Wolves, he just wasn't that match fit to do a 90 minutes. By the way, if you want to ask a question, put a Q or put question and then ask the question so I know it's a question, people. Toha, questions. Give me Spandau Ballet there. Malk, question. Stel, they apparently operated on Mikel's. Do you think there's any... I've answered that, mate. Thank you for that. Toha, Fat Freddy's cat is absolutely one of my favorite. You know what? Fat Freddy's cat is good as a comic, but if I had to have a cat like him, I think I'll shoot the little bastard. Don't tell the missus that. She'd fucking throw me out. James, even what I'm late and my name isn't Still. I know, mate. We've been going for 43 minutes, James, and you've only just turned up. I don't know, mate. Cockney, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Apologies if I've missed, but Fulkrug had another bust-up after Wolves game with Loppy, apparently. I've not heard that. How bad do you think the player unrest is currently? Evening, by the way. Evening to you too. I've not heard that he's had another bust-up. That's a new one to me. Maybe that's the answer why he didn't come on. I don't know. But that's an interesting one. I haven't heard it, but I'd like to know more if you know more about it. Hamlet, Todibo could be made permanent to free up a loan space, but would he agree if Loppy is still here? Good question. Don't know. Ogbonna return when? Good evening, mates. We all love Ogbonna. I think he's out. Is he still out injured for Watford or is he back again? I don't know. Greg, been going for 30 years, always been a good one. Good week, shit. The next week it's West Ham way. Those tinted glasses are always in use. It's the hope that kills you. Absolutely. Neil, lots of negative talk as our club. As ours is the club that never learns. Last 3 seasons has simply been Groundhog Day. Have they, though? Last 3 seasons? We won a trophy last year. I know that sounds like a million years ago, but we won a trophy last year. 2023 was the year we won a European trophy. So I wouldn't say, Neil, to be with a great respect, I wouldn't say the last 3 seasons have been Groundhog, because Prague is still ingrained in my memory. And all the away European aways. So I don't think maybe the last last season under Moyes, and then this season, fair play, 1.5 years maybe, but not the last 3, mate. Soler won't be made permanent with his huge wages. What huge wages? I know people are talking about his huge wages, but he is getting paid around about the going rate, 100, 120 grand a week at West Ham. I don't know where this thing that he's earning something like 250 grand a week has come from. Hammer 84. Good evening, mate. Can you give us a wave? There you go, mate. Good evening to you. Anthony, still watch the Wolves game, then the under 18s, under 21s, West Ham women team, all in 1 week. And we won all of them, didn't we? I don't, under 21s we did, women's did twice. And I don't know about the under 18s. Q, Howard, beef or pickled onion monster munch? Neither. Fucking hate monster munch. Disgusting. My goodness me. How do you eat that crap? I'm on a diet. I still am. I can't eat crisps. I'll eat, oh, you're going to laugh, but I'll eat lentil crisps made out of lentils and peas and stuff like that. They're not bad. You mock. Go and try them. Mojo, late to the party. Hello, mate. Hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Delton, I was never a fan of Loppo before he came, but hope he stays until the end of the season because it means the team is progressing. Good point, Delton. That is a good point. Daniela, we have a new team with 9 new players, so it's always going to be tough, but yes, it's not going to plan. That wasn't a question. That was a statement. Mr. Gilby, how are you, mate? I stay on the rest of the chat. Most are saying Carrick with Nobes and Nolan. What's your take on this? I think end of the season is probably where we might go for Carrick. I don't think it's going to happen now. Do I think it's the right thing? I don't know. It won't be Noble at the helm. Noble, my understanding is he doesn't want anything to do with managing the team. But in the background, absolutely. With Nolan, possibly. I could see the relevant. I can see the point of having that. But would Carrick be the right person? All right, assistant manager to the bloke that scored a shitload of goals as a sub at Man United, and but that's and then Premier League football experience. I don't know. You see, the board. I'd like to think it's Carrick. Do I think he would be the right man? I really don't know. I get it though, because Carrick will bring through the youth. I said it earlier in the show. Carrick will know about. He'll know about West Ham's history. He's got some kind of Premier League experience, being assistant manager, and also playing in the league, and also he trusts the youth. He brings the youth through at Middlesbrough, bringing young players through. So in that respect, all the boxes are ticked. Do I think he'll do well in the Premier League? That I don't know. You know, I genuinely don't know. But I think if it's going to happen, it will be happening at the end of the season. Usual. Man City have said they will sign between 4 to 6 players in January, following a run of poor form, looking at 1 or 2 from West Ham. Who are they going to look at West Ham? I don't think we're going to sell anyone, truth be told. I'll be very, very surprised. But let's see what happens. Please, people, put a Q, because I can't read out every one of your comments, but put a Q so then we don't need another winger. Who says another winger? Let's scroll down. I can't see any Qs. I'm not going to read out your comments if you haven't got a Q. And there's loads of nothing with Q, so I'm going to have to read out your comments, aren't I? Lee, isn't Allegro another negative football playing manager? Surely not again. He is. Well, watch my show. By the way, 2 things. Well, 3 things. If you're new to this channel, I've got 200 people watching. If any of you are new, please become a subscriber of the channel. Whether you're new, old, or indifferent, please hit the like button. And what else was I going to do? I did say 3 things. Oh, yeah. A 3rd thing is I've done a video pre-recorded. It's going out at 8:30 tomorrow morning, talking about Potter and Allegri. And you've hit the nail on the head there, Lee, but I'll say no more until you watch that show. Toha, is it true that the wonderful things about Tigers are wonderful things? Yeah. Sharky, Allegri does have a good record when it comes to winning trophy. Well, he does. Excuse me. Getting over a cold. Anthony, according to Sky Sports, Potter doesn't want a short-term deal. He's looking for a 6-year deal. Farewell, Potter. What else have we got here? Sharky, do you think Spurs will bring in Potter? Interesting. That's a good John. Stop lying, mate. There you go. I just proved it, John. I can't count. Kimbo, we have got to try and find a young up-and-coming coach, not keep grabbing one of these on the merry-go-round. They're not employed for a reason. That's why I think potentially we will wait till the end of the season. If we can limp through to the end of the season, that's when we will replace Lopetegui. Are we a better away side? Good question. Do you know what? I haven't looked at. I don't know how many games we've won home and away. You might actually be right. Maybe the pressure's off and we're better away than we are at home. John, do we think the next West Ham manager should have a connection to the club? Frankly, I don't care, to be honest with you. I want him to be the right head coach rather than whether he's got a connection to the club. I talked about Carrick a moment ago. He'll tick some boxes. Ex-West Ham player. He'll know about the club. He knows about the Premier League, etc., etc. But do I think it's important? Don't know, to be honest with you. It's important to have the right coach, whoever he is, whether he has a link to the connection to the club or not. We have this thing, don't we? We have this vision because of the way West Ham United have been over the years, that it's got to be someone from the club. It's got to be someone who's got that connection to East London and all that stuff. I don't really know if that matters much anymore, to be quite honest with you. A lot of people are alluding to the lack of leadership at the moment, and we really miss Nobes in the team. Someone who's connected to the club. And I get that. I understand that logic. But in this day and age, you should have leaders. It doesn't, Souček is a leader. He doesn't have a connection to the club. He's been at the club long enough, but he doesn't have a historic connection to the club. So I don't know. I think not. I think it's a nice vision to hang on to. You've got to have someone that's got a connection to the club, but I don't think it's that important, to be quite honest with you. PMCC, Mika Bireth, who was on Arsenal's books at Sturm Graz since the summer, is decent. I don't know much about him, but thank you for that shout out. What else? Greg, great Southampton play attractive football. Fancy some of that, and yet they're in the bottom three. What do you want? I'm asking a genuine question. Southampton play attractive football. Do I deny that? Probably not. They're in the bottom three, though, and they're very likely to go down. They're struggling to stay in this league, but they do play attractive football. What's his name? Burnley last season played attractive football. My name. He's managing now. Bayern Munich, is it? They played attractive football, but they got relegated as well. So we need that balance, don't we? Yes, of course we want to be entertained. Who doesn't? We do want to be entertained. But at the same time, I said this many times before, if we were playing attractive football in the bottom three, how many fans will be going, bravo? Oh, that football was great, but we just got trashed again 3-0. I don't think many fans would be saying that, to be quite honest with you. Anthony, nobody's pushing for Carrick to be head coach, reports Sky. Yeah, he is pushing for Carrick. Do I think it will happen now? I'm not too sure, to be quite honest with you. John, Devine was only signed by City for the homegrown scenario. Bang on. And they will end up selling him for a nice little profit. And I'll be astonished if he got even a minutes of game time. Let's scroll down. Who else do we have? PMC again. Michael Carrick could be a good shout. He's doing well at Borough. Isn't afraid to play the young players. Absolutely. Neil. A West Ham link for a new manager would be nice, but knowing our ownership would probably be some plank like Marco Boogers. Well, he's got a connection to the club. Would you want him managing your team? Would you want Paolo Di Canio managing West Ham United? I hope to God you say no, because it would be, if you call it a circus now, imagine the shitstorm of him being in charge. Excuse me, people. I am getting over a cold, so my apologies if I feel a bit if I sound a bit snuffly. Hammer, yes, still transitional season granted, but how many other clubs are in the same boat looking like us? Well, there's 6 other clubs below us, Hammerette. So you tell me, and there's clubs above us who are meant to be better than us, but Newcastle, Man United, are only a couple of points above us. Think about it. I'm not saying for a minute that the football's great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying for a minute that I think Lopetegui is the right person to be managing or head coaching West Ham United. I probably don't think he is. But you only got to look around you. You've got to look below you. And then you've got to look at clubs above you, Man United, Newcastle, etc., who everyone thinks they're far better than us or meant to be far better than us, are only a couple of points away from us. Soha. If Potter came in, what players would he attract? If Southgate came in, other than Maguire, who would he pull in? Sweet FA. It's an interesting comment. What players might these coaches bring in? Yeah, interesting. Kevin, evening. Is it true 6 players, 1 out? It's a load of bollocks, but it's good storytelling, mate. Graham, still, we had a foot of snow, but now it's melted. Currently -1, but the -30s are not far away. Fucking hell, mate. Rather you than me. Matthew, it's all about control, and our glorious leader ain't giving up any. Well, he owns the club. I know it sounds awful that he owns the club, but he owns the club. He can do what the hell he wants with it. And I know we don't like it, but that's the downright truth. Yes, Perino. The board are going to keep Lopetegui because they do not enjoy a payoff or compensation to get someone good. As long as we don't go down, it's all Sully cares about. It probably is, and you're probably right. But now, halfway through the season, look at the options we've got. They're not all very aspiring options, are they, to be quite honest with you? You know, Potter is probably the best of a bad bunch. You know, and I don't want Potter. And I dare say many of you guys don't want Potter. But he's the best of a bad bunch. Will they go out and pay compensation to get someone else in? No. Will they really? Will they consider it at the end of this season? I think they've got absolutely no choice. Come the end of this season, when the season's done and dusted, they'll look around and they'll go, okay, then, do we break a habit of a lifetime and go out and try and get a head coach that's currently in employment? You know, and then Iraola, whatever his name is, at Bournemouth, will have one season left at Bournemouth at the end of this season if he doesn't sign an extended deal. Who knows? Apparently the board are interested in him before. They might go and say, you've had a couple of seasons now, or season in the Premier League managing Bournemouth. Come and join us. He's on £1 million a season is what he earns. You know, he'll certainly get more money at West Ham, and maybe they'll go for him at the end of the season and pay some sort of compensation for him then. Let's scroll down. If you want to ask a question, please do put a Q at the start of your comment. Wiggy is far better looking than you still. Deal with it, mate. All right, John. You do make me laugh, John. I haven't seen you for ages. Anyway, John versus Leicester, 31 shots versus Wolves, 4, 2 disallowed. Let one in. Not too shabby. So much the better than Moyes ball. You know, we are not playing Moyes ball, but it's still not that entertaining enough, is it, for us? Because we deserve more, because we're West Ham. Just staying in the Premier League equals money. Shareholders can get their dividends no matter what. After that, you don't need success to make money. Kevin, my brother told me 6 players are wanting out, and he said we have no money in January. I don't think 6 players are wanting out. There are probably 6 disgruntled players. No doubt about that. You can count them. Kudus, Todibo, Fulkrug, Paqueta, maybe Areola as well. There's 5. Don't know who the other one may be. Disgruntled because they're not. Some of them are not getting game time now. But Areola, I think he should be playing. Paqueta, come on, people. How many of you think he should be in the first team, given the performances he's put in so far this season? I can see those 2 being disgruntled. Yeah. Fulkrug, I don't understand his beef. I don't understand why he would be disgruntled. He's been injured all bloody season. He only came back last week. So I don't get what issue he's got with being disgruntled. Todibo, we've heard about, you know, the bust-up that he's had with Lopetegui and Kudus as well. But then if they've really had a bust-up with him, Lopetegui wouldn't have picked them at all, would he? Why on earth does Brady have a say in footballing matters? Well, she doesn't, because she's in the background. She deals with things like contracts. She's the one that sacks the coaches, apparently. She's the one that has to sit there and tell them you're fired. But apart from that, she does a lot of stuff behind the scenes that aren't really related to the footballing side, only the business side of things. Pirino. Any good manager would not want to work with Sullivan. He's so undermining and untrustworthy, proven its time after time. Let's scroll down. Neil. Yeah, but in relation to receiving revenue, sponsorship, merchandise, league places are sadly chicken feed. Yeah. Evening to you, Lee. That's a good point, Neil. Evening, Lee. I hope you're well. PMC. Is Bowen through the centre worth a go for a few games? Probably the best finisher at the club. Well, he played in the centre on Monday night, and he didn't do that great in the first half, but he was more industrious in the second half. I don't mind him being in that position, to be quite honest with you. Either him or Kudus in the middle is what I would prefer. Early doors, good evening to you. Can't stay long, just saying hello and to smash the like. Thank you very much. And if you've yet to hit the like button, please hit the like button. If you've yet to become a subscriber, please become a subscriber. subscriber even. Vatakis, Diganis, Balagala. I hope you're well, mates. Pierino, does Antonio have insurance for loss of earnings? Quite possibly. I would think the club will certainly pay off the rest of his contract. And like I said earlier in the show, it's quite possible that the club are potentially thinking he's got a year, an option of a year to extend the club, and they might just honour that. Let's see. Matthew, Bone ain't fit up top. He gets bullied off the ball too easy. There's two views, and both are right and both are wrong, because we've seen Bowen be great up front, and then other times we've seen him not look so great up front. Let's scroll down. Who else have we got? KJ. Please, people, if you want to put get a comment up, please put Q or question, so I will read out your question. Me and son, season ticket holders, KJ, and decided not going to any more games until Flobby is gone. Sad, but can't stand the football. Look, each to their own. I don't subscribe to that personally. I've been a season ticket holder for years, but as we said earlier on, some of us have seen a lot worse. I'm sure you may have done as well, KJ. But to me, the beauty of football is that you don't know what you're going to get. Like I said earlier in the show, we went to Newcastle on a cold Monday night. We beat them and beat them convincingly. We went to Leicester on a cold Tuesday night and we got beat by a team that we thought we were going to smash, despite having all the chances that we had. That's the beauty and the beast of football, I guess. You don't know what you're going to get. My advice is use your season ticket, mate. Because you don't know, the next game may be a humdinger. The next game could be good, bad, indifferent, whatever. Yeah, but what the players need right now is the likes of you and I to go to games and support the team through thick and thin, because that is the West Ham way. We've always supported the team through thick and thin. And if we get behind them, who knows? The performances may improve. Who knows? David, why? I've got no disrespect to you if you don't go. That's your choice, and I wouldn't tell you to do otherwise, mate. David, why do we call ourselves the Academy of Football when we never bring the youth through? Wasted a lot of money on average players in the transfer window. We absolutely did, but I've been thinking about this. Now, I've been writing this bloody script for fucking longer than I care to remember about the youth, the academy, etc. And the theory really is, it's quite simple. We bring managers in for the short term. The short term means that the managers have got to perform. And the short term means that the managers are likely to look for proven players in their eyes rather than academy players. Now, you could argue other teams have got academy players and they're doing really well. But for some reason, we don't do that. We bring managers in and we're always firefighting. We always bring managers in to firefight, to get us out of a relegations area, etc. So the first thing that manager or that head coach is going to do is going to go, do you know what? We've got to get us out of a hole here. I can't use the youth. I'll go for proven players. That's why I think we're doing that, because we're not getting someone in for the long term, which is why Carrick could well be someone that could suit West Ham in those terms, because he knows the history of the club and maybe he will risk younger players and get the best out of them. Question, the Moody Blues. It's not a question. Daniela, Todibo was injured at Leicester, I think. Yeah, I think he was. He wasn't. Well, he was and he wasn't. We were told two different things. We were told that he was training on his own, wasn't training with the under-21s, and that's why he didn't travel to Leicester. I don't know. Matthew, question. Why is Brady involved in important decisions? She wants Potter because he's married to one of her mates. That is what we've heard, isn't it? Do we know if that's true? I genuinely don't know that, Matthew. Ironbrew, good evening, mate. Is there any chance our players are actually not as good as we think they are? That's a really, really good question. We look at the players we signed. Todibo seems to be taking all season to find his feet. I think there's a good player there. My mates aren't convinced. Paul Williams says, no, he's rubbish. But I think sometimes you look at him and you think, oh, class. And then other times you look at him and you think, oh, donkey. Soler, I think, is slowly improving. I think Somerville is good, but I think, as I said earlier in the show, I think he needs proper game time, not bits and pieces. Who else we got? Guilherme, we'll never know because we're not going to see him play. Same goes for Andy Irving. We don't see enough of him. Who else? Fulcrook, he's been injured. So we don't know what we're getting from him. Rodriguez, the Premier League doesn't suit him. And if there's anyone that's going, I think he will go in January. Whether it be out on loan or whether we sell him, I think he will be gone. So overall, and then you look at some of our regular players, Antonio, before he got injured. How many of us have said, oh, please God, let's not have to rely on Antonio leading the front line yet again. And what did we go into the season? Antonio leading the front line. Danny Ings, his endeavour is good, but he just doesn't have the pace, that zip in him. He can be good, but not always. You look at Paqueta, he's been way off form for how long now? Over a year and a half. So we've got a lot of players that aren't delivering. We've got a lot of players that maybe just don't suit the Premier League, like Rodriguez. It's a bit of a mishmash at the moment. Now, I blame Steiden for a lot of that, because it was Steiden's job to rebuild this squad. And I know we hear all these rumours about, Lopetegui got 3 and Sullivan got 3 and Steiden got 3. I don't know, because I think my understanding is, and especially what Lopetegui said at the beginning, and Steiden said at the beginning of the season in the interview, it was all about being coherent, all about being as one, the whole club going in one direction. So there are going to be conversations. There are going to be agents talking to Sullivan's ear going, you know what? We got a player in the championship will absolutely suit you, Somerville. Sullivan would have gone, Steiden, go and get him. And then Lopetegui would have gone, look, you know what? I've worked with him when I was at Wolves, and I think Kilman would be a great addition to this squad. And Steinen will go, fair play, that's who you want. And then we go out and get a few others. Rodriguez, whose choice was that? Guilherme, did we really need a 20-odd million pound young player who may not make the team this season? A prospect for the future? Fair enough. But show us what the bloody prospect can do. So maybe, the answer is some of our players maybe aren't as good as what we think, Iron Brew. Let's scroll down. Mr. Anthrop, good evening to you. West Ham look great up front. Somerville has improved the situation immensely, but your midfield is in transition. I wouldn't worry. Looks in good shape. The defence to midfield will take time. That's a good point. That is a good point. It will take time. We're not quite settled yet. We need a settled back line. We're almost there. It's either Todibo or Mavropanos. It can't be one or the other every now and again. And then the back line, without Rodriguez, I think we're actually better, to be quite honest with you. The Premier League was certainly not Rodriguez's strong point. But with Alvarez back in there, Souček and Soler or Paquetá, whichever of the three you want to mix in, I think you're right. Ben, looking forward to seeing Fulgrim get some game time. He could be our answer to lack of goals. He might be. We're going to have to see between now and January, because apparently people are saying he wants to be gone. Who knows? Neil, we fluked a trophy style and just avoided relegation by 4 games. We could only play the teams that were in front of us, to be quite honest with you. And I always said, and I said it even straight after the game against Fiorentina, the day after when I did a review in Prague, I said if Fiorentina had played football instead of playing the dark arts, they would have beaten us on that day. But we don't choose how the other teams put themselves out, how the other teams perform, what strategy the other teams take. We can only play against what's in front of us. And we took our chances and we won that trophy. Was it a fluke? No, I wouldn't say it was a fluke, because Fiorentina decided to play the way they wanted to play. They were rolling around. Oh, ref, look, I've just been shot and all that sort of shit, and they put them, they did themselves a disservice, because had they played football, we wouldn't have won that trophy, but they didn't. They wanted to play the dark arts and we beat them, so it wasn't a fluke as far as I'm concerned. Daniela, Stel, do you think some of our fans love to be negative? And yes, under 18s won in Europe 2-1. I can understand why there's negativity from some fans. I get it. We want better. Of course, we all want better. We all want West Ham to be winning games and winning games with flair. But I'm going to be honest with you people. I'm 62 years of age. I've seen West Ham United play shit, even under the likes of previous managers, and I know we don't want to admit that. We keep thinking of the glory days back in the mid 70s and 80s and all that. We have had glory, but we've had a lot of shit, and we've been relegated several times as well. And we've got to understand that the West Ham way isn't all about glory and winning games, sort of like the best team in the world. We're not the best team in the world. Never happened. Of course, we aspire to be. We all want to be a better team, but there have been times when we've been crap. Well before this ownership, well before Moyes, well before Lopetegui. We've had some awful times in the past as well. John Soler is on about 80 grand a week. I thought he is 80 to 100, something like that. Howard, the middle classery of it still lentil crisps. Try them. Lentil still sounds like the sequel to Yentl. Ben, is Fulcrook the answer to our goal? You just asked. I don't know, mate. Until we see him play a bit more regularly, I genuinely don't know. Kimbo, since 72, most of my life supporting West Ham been ups and downs, but always entertaining. I think that is, isn't it? Yep. John, I think employing Carrick will be great. I believe the fans will be far more patient with him. I do too, John. I actually do. I agree with you. But let's imagine for a minute, Carrick comes in, first season, and we're fighting relegation all season. How much stick will he get then? How much stick will the board get for going, well, you shouldn't have brought Carrick in. He's not ready for Premier League football, etc., etc. You can see it now, can't you? But I do. I think a pocket of fans will be more patient with him. I don't think all fans will. Bolane, any truth that Potter is considering 6 months if it contains targets that can result in a longer contract? Wouldn't surprise me. And it wouldn't surprise me if the board offered him that. Let's think about Moyes when he came back the second time round. He kind of said, you want me back a second time? If I keep you up, I'm staying for the long term. And then he signed a long deal. So it wouldn't surprise me. Someone said earlier on about 6 years. There's no way he's getting a 6-year deal. John, Q, put a Q if you have. Thank you, mate. Good evening. Oh, Nigel, what's your favorite Friday night show? Yes, by the way, it's back again tomorrow night. Friday Night Live or Friday Late is back on Friday night. Yeah, what other day than Friday? So do join us. Now, apparently I want it to start at 10, but the co-host, Mr. Nigel Khan, said no way. We're taking over Fridays, 9:30. So tomorrow night, 9:30, Friday Late is back. So do join us. There'll be a special guest or two. I'd like John to come on, but he's probably driving his cab. Aren't you, John? How far behind am I? Fucking hell. Can you imagine if I actually did a show and instead of just questions? Andrew, who is ITK and why don't they know anything? Zip. Let's move on to the next question. Should we use a capital Q or lowercase q? And do we need to include a question mark? Capital Q will be all right there, mate. Where's the main guy tonight, Nigel? I think his name is. He's on tomorrow night, isn't he? It's not Friday, is it? Q. I watched the game, Daniela, on TV. The first half was dull. Was due to Wolves putting 10 players behind the ball. Then the second half, they opened up. He's in bed. There you go. He's in bed. Howard, tiramisu or apple pie? Fucking apple pie and custard when you got tiramisu in front of you. Leave off, mate. Fucking silly question, Howard. Yeah, Stella, is it true you're moving to East London? Well, it was considered. Let's say it was considered. And I went to look at places in that part of the world. And I went, nah, not for me. No, so don't worry, John. I won't be. You won't be picking me up and driving me back to Essex anytime soon, mate. Hammerett, what do you think of the inspiring statement that Loppy has got the same amount of wins in 2 games less than it took Moyes at the end? You know, he's protecting his future, isn't he? He's got to say something that's positive so that we can look at it in a different light. I'm not answering that one, Howard. I'm not going to ask that one. Okay. Leg or breast? It's leg of chicken. John, pie and mash or smoked salmon with you bastard. Smoked salmon and scrambled eggs on sourdough, I'm afraid, John, because I don't like all that green shit that you put on the pie and mash. If it was without that, I'd eat pie and mash. There you go. Why not? I ate it all. I thought, you know what? I thought it was actually quite nice. I ate all of it. I'm going back. When are you going back? Tell me and I'll join you and embarrass you again. Still, would you like Everton to get relegated? Their stadium is in their championship. I don't care about Everton. It is high time that a big team got relegated. So why not Everton? Yeah, come on, guys. Let's go for pie and mash at Maureen's. Do they serve salmon? Will they allow me to ask for salmon? Let me know and we'll go and have pie and mash for the 3 of us. Daniela, we're only 7 points off 5th. At the end of the day, that's not hard to make up with 23 games to go. But exactly that, which is probably another reason why the board are going, you know what, we may not sack you just yet because we are only 7 points from 5th place. We're nearer 5th We're nearer the top than we are the bottom. So there you go. In points. Evening, Mr. Borges. How are you, mate? I hope you're well. Hammerix, is it true that we're negotiating a deal with Soufal past summer? No, it's not. Soufal, his agent, would like us to give him a new deal because he's in his last season of his contract. I don't believe we will. I don't think we will. I think we will be looking at a new or someone else to be competing with Wan-Bissaka for the right back spots. Daniela, I want results over entertainment any day. That ain't a question, Daniela. Anthony, still, would you like to see? Yeah, you've asked me that. Iron Brew. Could it be true that all the fights and bust-ups are in fact a lot of shite and that the squad are actually getting on fine, but we're just shite? I think there have been disagreements. I don't deny that. And like was said earlier on by someone, all clubs will have disagreements. The trouble with West Ham is our disagreements are out in the spotlight, whereas every other club's disagreements are behind closed doors. That's the difference. There is someone in there that is telling everybody about what's going on. That ain't good. That ain't great. When someone finds out, they can't wait to get to their ITKs to let them know of the infighting that's going on. So the difference is that we just have it out in the public, whereas everyone else keeps it behind closed doors. Kimbo, if our priority is just staying up, surely our owners could sort out some blue pills. Daniel, will we be looking to sell players in January that are out on loan at the moment for funds in the summer? We'll have new funds in the summer. Will we be looking to sell players in January that are out on loan? I don't know is the answer to that. So we've got looking at people like Freddie Potts and George Earthy, etc. My understanding is that they're quite likely to come back and try and claim a place in the senior team next season. But you never know. We've sold players on loan before. We may be looking at maybe selling one or two players in January. I think Rodriguez is likely to go. Maybe we can sell him or maybe put him out on loan. Daniela, other teams where fans are not happy with things in their clubs, Newcastle. So look at Spurs. They're imploding. Man United, again, not a question, Daniela, but I'll let you get away with that one. Toha, if Sully Sr. stands down, do we get Sully Jr. as our main shareholder? Quite possibly is the answer to that. Neil, normally like my whiskey, but I'm off tomorrow and having a few brandies. What is happening to me? There you go. Watching West Ham Voice and you're on the drinks already. Colin, no atmosphere the other night. We need to back the team. The team need a boost. Absolutely agree. James, lots late to the party. Hello to you, mate. Thank you for joining. Neil, you got to spill the beans about something, but I don't know what the beans are. Howard, so you're all cheating now. You're putting Q, but not asking questions. An out-of-date box of celebrations. That's not a question. Pierino, if Rodriguez goes, will Sully replace him? Knowing Antonio is out. Fulkrug wants to leave, etc. If Rodriguez goes, I think we've got enough in midfield to possibly continue without him. Maybe someone like Andy Irving will get more game time if Rodriguez goes. Who knows? Knowing Antonio's out, Fulkrug wants to leave. Will Sully replace them? I like to think that we will get a striker in, but it depends on whether there's a striker available. Corley really wanted by a number of teams. That's interesting. A number of championship teams. I don't see anything wrong with that, to be quite honest with you. Excuse me. Cute. If a train leaves, I'm not answering that. Is Father Christmas real? Now you're all taking the piss. Usual. Q. Turkey, goose, partridge for Christmas. I hate all of them. I really do. But if need be, well, we bought a turkey already. So early, innit? Got it in the freezer. Takes up all the fucking space. Anyway, let's scroll down. Trini, the West Ham way is competing 100% every time you step on the pitch. Montana, good evening, mate. Who has been the best ownership in our history? I'm not the one to answer that. Nigel is. I'll tell you what, keep that question for tomorrow. If you missed out, by the way, few things. Become a subscriber. Why not? Still got nearly 200 people watching. Hit the like button, please. It helps the channel. There's a show coming out in the morning, pre-recorded, about Allegri and Potter, 8:30 tomorrow morning. And then Friday night, we've got West Ham. We got West Ham Voice late. Friday late with Nigel and other guests coming on. So there you go. But hit the like button before anything else. Who else have we got? And then ask that question tomorrow, Montana. John, great show. Thank you very much. First time on live chat on any channel. Thank you, mate. Really appreciate it, John. Much appreciate you managed to join in. James, Hammers beat Leeds 7-0 in League Cup in 1966. Don Reaver said that West Ham would have beaten Real Madrid last 12 games, 1966, scored 42 goals. Those were the days. KJ, still, you're a stronger man than me to watch the team, and I've seen a lot worse being older than you, but maybe more intolerant and still looking for the team we was promised. Remember, world class. I know, mate. I know, and I know that's why a lot of people feel really disconnected with the club at the moment. Since we left the stadium, Upton Park, we were promised all this shit. Come on. I think we should have all seen through that, shouldn't we, to be honest with you? But I get your point. I get your point. You know, I understand why people feel quite disillusioned at the moment. Andrew, who is the whistleblower Supergrass still who's hanging out our laundry, and can we sell them in January? If I told you who was once a whistleblower, you'd be fucking shocked. All I'll say is he was an ex-player. Daniela, Stel, what? And not that long ago. Stel, what's happened to the gold shares that were on offer? Still on sale. We can't get a buyer for them, interestingly. I think what's happening with that, Daniela, is there not a lot of people want to invest a small portion in a club. Probably they might want to look for a bigger, sort of more a controlling stake, you know, maybe about a third of the club. And there was some talk some time ago about maybe some of the current shareholders reducing their shareholds in order to build up the amount that gold had for sale and build it up to a third to be sold. But again, that's not gone anywhere recently. Mark, did I see today a report about? Yes, you did. An absolute load of total tripe, mate. Come on, people. He's in his last season of his contract. He's constantly injured. His agent needs him to go to a new club. Who else but West Ham United are going to step to the plate? Ain't happening. So don't worry about it. Fuck me. If we sign him in January, am I going to eat my hat? Paul, we definitely need a new striker in January. One more injury up front, and we will be struggling. Cole, Daniela, Mark, the Callum Wilson coming from the Toon fan base and media. He's injured again, so it's bullshit. Howard, how much are they asked for the 10%? I don't remember, mate. I genuinely don't remember. I don't know what the value of them. Darren, did you get home on Monday night, and was the area better in the second half? It was better, mate. A lot better. You know, well, we won. But no, the football was better. Rowley, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. All needs to be a change. Monday was a shambles. Moyes, number 2. And we've been through that. Right. I've reached the bottom. We've done an hour and 22 minutes. Let's go on for another 8 minutes to get it to an hour and a half. So I'm only now going to pick up anything that's got a cue in front of it. A proper question, not just a statement or just something to make me read out. So go on. It's all down to you, or I could be silent for the next 8 minutes. Meant the atmosphere? Yes, the atmosphere. It weren't great, mate. It absolutely wasn't great. Give me Ricardo Vazquez. Turkey's fine on the day, just not for the rest of the week. I'm waiting for a question. Here we go. He was in Bond films. Who was in Bond films? He was in Bond? Who? That's not a question. Toha. Has anyone worked out Fat Freddy's cat yet? You've got to go and look up. Go and Google Fat Freddy's cat. What's the funniest, Toha? When he shit in what's his name's earphones. That's got to be the funniest, wasn't it? Or did he do worse than that? Q. What championship players to sort out look after? Could be a January signing. I don't know. Darren, who would you like as our next striker in the January transfer window? I genuinely don't know. I'll be very honest with you. I'm going to start looking at all the speculation and the gossip about transfers now that we're in December, and I'll come back to you on that. My apologies. I don't have an answer for you. Kosi, how much do you think the football results would improve if we signed a successful clinical striker? I think immensely. You know, there's no denying that we've been creating more chances, believe it or not. There's no denying that we've got more possession of the ball, but there's no denying that we're not putting our chances away. I think it would be immense, to be quite honest with you. Bolin, did you answer my previous question, or was it when I was putting the bins out? What was the question? About an hour ago. Bill, evening, mate. Any rumours on budget for January signings? Well, we're being told Now, that we don't have any money in the January window, but I think we're going to have to find some money for a striker at the very least, if no more than that. Daniel, if Lopetegui gets our players playing his system as a team by summer, do you think the board will stick with him? That's a really good question. I think if he manages to demonstrate that he's going in the right direction, we start performing a lot better and getting convincing results rather than scraping wins, then absolutely, I think they might turn around and go, yeah, we'll keep you for another season. Good question. Darren, do you think we will beat Bournemouth on Monday? Well, I'm going, so there's hope there. Do I think we'll beat Bournemouth? You know what? I didn't think we were going to beat Newcastle, but we did. So why not? Why not? You always go expecting the unexpected. Daniela, what do you feel of Saudi getting? I think it's outrageous. I think it's really out of order. Money talks. And I think it's wrong, to be quite honest with you, because it'll be another World Cup that's being played in the winter. I'll be 72 then. I might be pissing in my fucking underpants by then. You know, I'll be so old I probably won't care when it's on. There you go. That's a highlight for you, isn't it? Alien, would you like Mourinho as a manager, and would you go back to Upton Park if given a chance? No, and possibly not. We didn't need to move. I spoke about this with Nigel after the last show. We could have expanded that stadium to around about 45,000, which would have been more than adequate for us. But of course, that's not what the current board wanted, because they saw a business opportunity, you know, and I wonder how many people who saw a business opportunity would have turned it down. Would I go back if the stadium was still there and if we managed to expand it? Possibly, yeah. Would I like Mourinho as manager? No, because he's short term, you know, and it'll just be another one of those things where he's there for a season or two and then off he goes and then we're back to square one again. So no. David, I mentioned you earlier, David. Is Wiggy getting his own earpiece for Christmas? It was David that said hello to us. I was mentioned earlier, David, you know, in the pub. You came and said hello, and then you were overawed by the sight of Wiggy. You know, get out of the way still. I want to say hello to the shirt. No, he's not getting his own earpiece, but I've got to take a wet wipe and clean it after every time. Clive, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Mancunian Hammer, good evening, mate. Would you take prime Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank or prime Christian Vieri? Wow. Vieri, I think. What would you take? That's a good question. Vieri. Darren, do you think the rumours are true that Kudus might leave in January? No, they're not. So we get a striker and a midfielder. No, I don't think they're true at all. I think Kudus will be here to the end of the season. I've always said Kudus will be probably gone after 2 seasons, and I don't see that changing, but I definitely don't think we'll let him go in January. I'll be very, very, very surprised. Kelsey, how many points do you think is acceptable for Lopetegui to get from now until the end of the season? Enough to keep us up. Neil, dodgy Star Trek character. I don't know. I used to watch Star Trek a lot, but now I don't know. Good question. Darren, do you remember me Monday night? I asked if you remember. I do. I do, Darren. I do apologize, mate. My memory is poor. It's really poor because I even wrote your name down. Look, I'll prove to you that because I do forget people. I really do. It's not intentionally. I just don't mean it that way. And look at the 2 names I've got on my phone: Dave Mason and Darren. So I do remember you. Andrew, do you think the bogs are worse at the London Stadium than London Bowling? No, fucking hell. People used to piss along the fucking chicken run, you know, because they couldn't be bothered to go to the bogs because they were so poor. Brian, Stel, are you as sick as I am with all these Monday games? Being in the US, I'm working during these games. If we keep winning, I'm going to say no. But it is odd because we do, as Wiggy said, we do things that we should be doing on a Saturday, on a Monday, and then we fucking suffer for it on the Tuesday. Budgie, how is it I've not bumped into you inside the stadium for what? That I don't know, mate. You didn't stop to talk. You know, no sooner did you shake my hand that you said, I've got to go. Darren, could you possibly make Sullivan stranded for us fans on Monday, please? Daniela, I heard Newham Council wanted us out of Upton Park due to the congestion. I Never heard that before. You might be right, but I've never heard that. Would you have Bilic back? I would. No, to be honest. I'm not. No, I probably not. To be honest with you, Darren. What's your favorite movie? In my you know what? I watched it again yesterday because I was sick. So I thought, well, I'm not working. I've got to do something. I watched Gladiator again. I thought that's a great film. But that's not my most favorite movie. Pulp Fiction has got to be one of them as well. One of my favorite movies. But then you go back and you go, oh, what other things? You know, there's a lot. Oh, good question, Brian. Hey, so are you a sick? Done that one, mate. Do I like pina colada? Well, I like rum. Toha, I heard it in the grapevine. I did. Did you now? Darren, would you love to have another Dick's in defense as out? Another Dick in defense as we've got a couple of them. Would you like to have another Dick's in defense as outline left back? Yes, I wouldn't mind. No, I've got to be careful how I say that. Neil, are you not entertained? Oh yeah, great film. That's it. That's it. I'll say hi to Sai because he's just woken up. Monday night fix is good for me. 6 a.m. So there you go. 6 a.m. start for Sai. Right, that's it. I'm done. I think I've entertained you, and you have certainly entertained me for this impromptu show. Thank you very much indeed. Tomorrow morning, 8:30, there's a pre-recorded video about Potter and Allegri. And I reckon you should watch that. And then tomorrow night, Friday late night is back, or Friday late is back. So do join me and Nigel with guests as well. That's on at 9:30 tomorrow evening. And also, if you're still watching, please hit the like button. Please become a subscriber and have a good night. And I'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you all for keeping me entertained. And I hope I've managed to keep you entertained as well.